Hey, welcome back to the Board Game Closet. My name's Jimmy, and today I'm going to take a look at Hey, welcome back to the Board Game Closet. My name's Jimmy, and today I'm going to take a look at a two-player game called Patchwork. This is put out by Mayday, plays in about 30 minutes, I guess. Yep. So let's take a look and see what you get in this box. Okay, so this is what you get in the box with Patchwork. Now, in Patchwork, you are trying to build a quilt. And so you're going to be getting little pieces of patch, kind of like Tetris. I guess I'll go ahead and throw that analogy out there to begin with. You're going to be taking turns purchasing pieces of patchwork and putting it onto your quilt board. And then at the end of the game, see who made the best quilt. And so it's pretty simple, plays pretty quick, and is actually... well, we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's look at components first. So like I said, you're going to get a board here, and this is going to be a time track board where you're going to be moving your pieces around it. And you've got little patches here that are on the board that when you cross over a piece, you get to pick that up and put it onto your board. And then you're going to get all of these Tetris-like pieces that go all the way around. You're going to make a circle with them, and they're actually going to be laid out a lot better than this. But for space sake, I had to squeeze it in. And then each player gets a player board made out of pretty good cardboard there. And then you're going to get buttons, lots and lots of buttons. And so you're going to get all these buttons that you're going to be used as currency throughout the game. So how does the game play? We'll give you kind of an overview. Well, let's talk about rules first. These are all of the rules to the game. It's actually really simple, and you can learn just by sitting down and reading the rule book. It's put out pretty well. It's not that complicated. I actually watched a video to begin with on it, but I think the rules are written well enough that it's not that complicated to figure out. So let me give you a quick overview of the game so you could figure out if this is something that you would like to purchase. First thing that you do need to know is that it is 2 players, so there's no other extra variants or anything like that. So it's just you versus a player. This is a great couples game or a great lunchtime game or a game that you can sit down and play pretty quickly. And basically you're trying to do the best that you can, your best score. And so you'll play this a lot of times just hoping that you'll get the right pieces so that you'll get the best board. So how do you play? Put out all the pieces around the board in a circle. You place the pawn token next to the smallest one, which is a 2x1, and you place it down. Each person gets 5 little buttons to start the game, and then you go. So on your turn, you can only purchase, which this is really important, the pieces that are the first 3 pieces that are next to the pawn in clockwise order. So although there's tons of pieces around the board, the only ones that you can purchase are the ones that are in front of you. And so on the board, on the piece, it's got 2 pieces of information. So it's got the amount of buttons it costs you, and then the amount of time that it costs you to make this piece, and so or sew this piece onto your patchwork. And so it costs you 3 buttons and 2 units of time. And so, but it also gives you an income of 1 button. So this one right here is cost 3, cost 2 time, and it gives you an income of 1 button. And we'll get to income here in a second. But let's just say that I wanted to purchase this piece. No, for example's sake, let's say that I wanted to purchase this one. It costs the same amount, 3 buttons. It cost me 3 times this time, and it gives me a 1 income button. So if I wanted to purchase that, I would take the pawn token and place it here next to that. I'd pay my 3 buttons. I can put it on my board, and then I would move my guy up 3 spaces. And so that's how that works. Then the next person goes. It's always the person's turn who is in behind, is in last place. And so if I moved up 2 places on my turn, I'm still behind, so I would get to go again. And so until you pass the person in front of you, it's still your turn. So that's kind of a neat catch-up mechanic, trying to keep you together in the game. And so now that I move the pawn up, I can only purchase the next 3 pieces that are in front of me. And so I won't actually make it back around to any of these until near the end of the game. And so on your turn, you'd look and say, okay, this is going to cost me 3 buttons and 4 units of time. You move your pawn up, you pay your 3 buttons, you put it on your board. There's only a couple rules when it comes to placing pieces onto the board. It's got to be on the board. Nothing can be hanging off. You can rotate your piece in any way. You can flip your piece in any way. So like this one, I could put it this way or that way or this way or that way, whichever way that I want. A couple tips of information. At the end of the game, for each open spot that you have, it's worth -2 points. And you won't think that that's that bad until the end of the game. And you're like, really? -2 points? Like, this is so hard. Like, your first few games, that's the instant reaction that you get, because at the end of the game, you're probably going to have a lot of open spaces, and you might even have a negative score at the end of the game. But don't worry, you get better, you figure it out, and it comes along. So you're going to be taking turns during the game, making your little patchwork, and I'm just throwing some stuff together. This is obviously not how the game plays. But as you play the game, you're going to be making your little quilt and putting it together, and you're going to end up having holes and spaces and things like that. But don't worry about it. It's okay. And then at the end of the game, after you go through here, at the end of the game, you're going to count up how many buttons you have at the end, and then you win. So how do you get more buttons, right? So I said you buy pieces and you put them on your board. Every time you go over one of these spots on the board that shows a button, you're going to get button income. And so the button income is based off of how many of these pieces you have on your board that actually have buttons on them. So somewhere near the middle of the game is probably where I'm at right now. And I cross over a button, then my button income would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I get 12 buttons. That's awesome. So now I get my income, and then I'm able to take my next turn. What happens when you don't have money, right? If you don't have money and you're out, then you can kind of skip forward to go in front of the next player, and for every space that you skip, you get a button. So if I was back here, I'd get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons, okay? And by the way, I skipped over a button there, so that means I get my button income, and so you get more. And so you're kind of trading, not purchasing a piece, which is going to take up spaces on your board, to get income. And so that's not something that you want to do every time, but if you have to, and you will have to. And so that's pretty much the game. You're going to be going back and forth, going around the board, picking up pieces, putting them on your board in a Tetris-like fashion. And the only other thing is there are patches on the board. So if you're the first person to pass over a patch, you get it, and you can instantly place it on your board to cover up a hole or a mistake that you made as you're placing things on. There's also a 7x7 bonus. This gives you 7 extra buttons. So the first person to complete a 7x7 patch on your board with no holes gets this, and this is kind of like an extra bonus that you're going to get. And this is counted towards your score at the end of the game. So like I said, once everybody is gone and you made it all the way to the center of this thing, then you count up how many spaces you have that are open and take away that many buttons. And however many you have left, whether that's a lot, a little, or negative, that's your score for the game. And so that's how you play Patchwork. Okay, so my thoughts on the game. It plays really quick. It's not that complicated. The only mistakes that you'll ever probably make in the game is forgetting to move your marker up in time. And that could really mess you up, because then you can't remember whose turn it is. Did I move up or not? So keep track of that. Make sure every time you place a piece that you move your token up. Other than that, there's really not any complicated rules that you're probably going to forget. This plays really quick, so it's going to be something you're going to want to play multiple times. Great rainy day game. Great game to take on the road with you. Great game to play in a restaurant, work time, all that kind of stuff. It fits that totally. And it's a great husband-wife couple game, that kind of thing. I think you'll really enjoy that. So, okay, at the end of our reviews, we like to do a simple 1-die rating. Should you buy it, play it, or hate it? So green means go buy this game and add it to your collection. White means maybe you wouldn't buy it, but you definitely play it. And then red means you wouldn't buy it and you wouldn't play it because you hate it. For me, Patchwork gets a green. And this is not a theme that I instantly was drawn to, and I actually avoided it for a long time. But I wanted to get this game for my wife because I thought that she would enjoy it. And I actually liked the mechanics of the game, the premise behind it. So maybe the theme didn't attract me, but the idea that I could play this with my wife and we get a lot of games in on it really attracted it to me. And so I put this down on the table for the first time, and my wife instantly loved it, right? The country, patch, theme, all that kind of stuff she loved. She likes the puzzle feel. She likes that I can't do anything to really hurt her. There is a couple tactics you could do in the game, but really she gets to build her own little world, which she loves, and then she likes to outdo herself and do better and better. All of those kinds of things made her love this game, and so it's a definite winner for me. I'm going to keep this game. It was relatively inexpensive, so it hits on all cylinders for me. So green, go buy this game and add it to your collection. So thanks for watching another review from the Board Game Closet. We got a lot more reviews on our website, boardgamecloset.com. Make sure you subscribe and like our videos. It helps us out so much. And as always, support your local hobby shop.